Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters in Islam. Today, I want to speak to you who perhaps feel lost in this frantic race towards a job, towards a status, towards material recognition. You are one of Allah's chosen ones, a being chosen by His infinite wisdom, and yet, how many of us allow ourselves to be trapped by this incessant whirlwind of seeking to prove our worth in this world, forgetting the essential? Allah, in His mercy, warns us and guides us towards a brighter path. He tells us, do not run after jobs, do this instead. These words are not just advice, they are an invitation to redefine our relationship with life, our time, our effort. How many of us spend hours, days, or even years looking for a job, fighting for a position, chasing contracts, without ever feeling inner peace? How many wake up every morning with a weight on our hearts, a growing anxiety, a fatigue that won't go away? And yet, we are chosen ones, beings whom God has placed here with a specific purpose. There is within us a light, a strength, a mission far greater than simply fulfilling a social or professional role. Think for a moment. Can the job you are pursuing truly bring you ultimate satisfaction? Can it guarantee you peace, serenity, spiritual success, and closeness to Allah? Or is it not rather a distraction, a veil that distances you from your true essence? Islam teaches us that true wealth is that of the heart, that a man's worth is not measured by his salary, but by his faith, his patience, his submission to Allah. The Prophet Muhammad showed us by his example that simplicity, trust in Allah, and sincerity in worship are priceless treasures. He never chased wealth or high positions, but devoted every moment to building a deep relationship with his Creator and serving humanity with love and justice. It is this path, this light, that we must seek to follow, rather than losing ourselves in the illusory quest for material success. This video is a call to return to the basics, to refocus on what Allah truly wants for us, to understand that the race for jobs is only one step, often misleading, on the path to true success. Are you ready to hear this message and change your perspective? To stop running blindly and start walking with awareness, faith, and serenity? If so, then stay with me, because what you are about to discover can transform your life, your heart, and your relationship with Allah. Don't let time slip through your fingers without understanding its value. The time you spend chasing fleeting things is a lost opportunity to deepen your faith, purify your soul, and build an eternal future. Today, I want to invite you to take a fresh look at your life, to refocus your efforts on what truly matters, on what nourishes your spirit and brings you closer to your Lord. Together, we will explore what it truly means to be one of Allah's chosen ones in this world. How to no longer pursue jobs as an end in themselves, but how to live with the wisdom, confidence, and peace that only Allah can give. Prepare to open your heart and mind, because this process is more than just motivation. It is a spiritual rebirth. When we talk about wealth in this world, many immediately think of money, material possessions, and the financial stability that comes with a job. Yet, in Allah's vision, true wealth far surpasses these earthly and ephemeral criteria. To be rich in the eyes of Allah is to be filled with inner peace, the certainty of His presence, and steadfastness in faith. The spiritual wealth, far more precious than all accumulated fortunes, is accessible to any sincere believer who decides to place their trust in God rather than in material possessions. Allah teaches us that man's true worth lies neither in the size of his salary nor in the recognition of others, but in the purity of his heart and the sincerity of his actions. This divine wisdom reminds us that material goods can disappear at any moment, that life is a breath, a test, and that only connection to Allah, this inner light, can truly fill the emptiness we often feel despite all that we possess. The frantic race for employment and financial security can thus become a source of constant dissatisfaction. It masks a deep emptiness, a thirst for meaning that only Allah can quench. The Prophet left us a rich legacy of examples where simplicity of life in no way detracted from spiritual greatness. He lived humbly, not attached to riches, but always rich in an unshakable faith. It is this wealth that we must seek, because it does not depend on external circumstances, but on our intimate relationship with the Creator. In this context, it becomes clear that employment and work should not be an end in themselves, but a means to our spiritual development. Seeking employment solely to accumulate wealth or to fill inner insecurity is to turn away from the true wealth promised by Allah. On the other hand, directing one's efforts consciously, within the limits of what God allows, to provide for one's needs while cultivating faith, is true wisdom. This inner wealth is also manifested by peace of heart, serenity in the face of hardships, and constant gratitude. A rich heart is one that appreciates blessings, even modest ones, that does not complain, and that sees every difficulty as an opportunity to draw closer to Allah. This attitude transforms the perception of time and work. It is no longer a stressful race, but a path of growth and learning. Allah reminds us that the most lasting wealth is that of the soul, and that this is nourished by prayer, remembrance of Allah's sigh, charity and patience. By cultivating these qualities, the Chosen One strengthens his faith and creates a true source of spiritual abundance, which transcends material limitations. This is why it is essential to place work and the search for employment in this broader context, not to lose sight of the end goal, which is closeness to Allah and the satisfaction of His decree. Thus, true wealth is not in what we have, but in what we are before Allah. It is a state of mind, a consciousness, a light that illuminates every moment. When this inner wealth is achieved, the outlook changes, priorities are adjusted, and the race for jobs becomes a serene approach, guided by divine wisdom. Brothers and sisters, the key is this: stop seeing employment as an end, and see it as a means to a richer, more just life, closer to Allah. This change of perspective is the first step toward a life full of meaning and blessings. Spiritual wealth attracts barakah, opens unexpected doors, and soothes the heart. Let us remember that even if material means are necessary, they must never become the center of our existence. Keeping our heart attached to Allah, even in the search for work, is the perfect balance. This is what every chosen one must deeply understand, so as not to get lost in the mirages of this world. In today's world, the pressure to find a stable job is immense. Everywhere, we are told that success comes from a good job, a good salary, and a brilliant career. This idea, deeply rooted in society, quickly becomes a subtle trap, especially for those seeking to reconcile faith and material reality. Many then embark on a frantic, almost desperate race to land that coveted position, believing it to be the only possible path to peace and success. But in reality, this race can turn into a truly dangerous detour. The frenzy that grips so many souls often pushes us to forget the essential, the reason why Allah placed us here, on this earth. We become slaves to this incessant search, absorbed by the procedures, the interviews, the rejections, the doubts, the frustrations. Our mental and physical energy is exhausted in this struggle, and yet, inner peace becomes increasingly rare. It is easy to lose sight of the fact that the search for a job must not become an obsession that erases every other dimension of our life, especially the spiritual one. This lifestyle, where we identify with our professional status, generates constant stress, sleepless nights, and deep worries. We even sacrifice precious moments with family, prayer, dhikr, and reading the Quran. We forget that Allah's chosen one is not defined by what he possesses or by the place he occupies in society, but by the quality of his faith, his perseverance, and his submission to the divine will. By seeking at all costs to please the world, we risk displeasing Allah. This race can also generate a form of paralyzing anxiety, a feeling of failure when results are slow in coming. Despair looms, patience wanes, and some end up abandoning prayer or the remembrance of Allah, believing that all is lost. Yet, it is precisely in these moments that trust and reliance on Allah must be strongest. It is in trial that the soul is purified and the chosen one grows. He who perseveres with faith, even in difficulty, is the one who will reap the greatest rewards. We must therefore recognize that pursuing a job as an end in itself is a trap that leads away from the true light. It is not about rejecting work or not seeking to provide for oneself, but rather about not allowing this pursuit to dominate our lives or obscure our priority, nurturing our relationship with Allah and making Him our only refuge. Allah's chosen ones are invited to adopt a posture of balance, where effort is made consciously, without haste or despair. Spirituality must never be sacrificed on the altar of material needs. On the contrary, it must guide every step, every decision. The time we devote to looking for a job must also include time for prayer, dhikr, and meditation on the divine word. For this is where true strength and true assurance lie. It's also important to remember that we're not alone in this race. Allah is always present, ready to open unexpected doors, send unexpected opportunities, and shower His blessings on our efforts. But this requires us to remain patient, humble, and confident. Letting go of the rat race to find inner peace means preparing ourselves to receive the best that God has for us, often in ways far different from what we imagined. Thus, the frantic race for jobs is not inevitable. It can become a path of faith, a school of patience and trust in Allah. It is a call to change our outlook, to stop seeking in the world what only Allah can fully provide. Recognizing this trap is the first step toward true freedom, the one that transforms a simple job seeker into a chosen one, a being connected to divine wisdom. In this crucial step, we will delve deeper into what it truly means to place one's trust in Allah in the context of a job search. Trust in God, or tawakkul, is a fundamental pillar of our faith, a bulwark against anxiety and haste. Yet, we often misinterpret this notion as merely passive waiting, a surrender to life's challenges. But authentic tawakkul, the one taught by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is far more dynamic and engaging. Trusting in Allah does not mean remaining inactive or doing nothing. Rather, it involves making the necessary effort, sincerely seeking, studying, preparing, and applying earnestly. But it also means accepting with serenity that the final outcome belongs to Allah alone, whether success or failure. This trust requires freeing our hearts from excessive fear, paralyzing stress, anger, or discouragement when things do not turn out as we had planned. In life, the believer faces a constant dilemma: how to combine human effort with submission to divine will. This is precisely where the beauty of Islam is revealed, for it asks us neither for inaction nor for obsession. It invites us to a happy medium, a harmony where effort is made with discipline, but with a peaceful heart, knowing that only Allah controls the outcome. The reality is that many people run endlessly,
lost in a whirlwind of activity, forgetting to stop, take a break, and place their trust in the one who is the best of planners. Stress, anxiety, impatience, and the fear of failure all keep us away from the serenity promised by Allah. Yet, inner peace is within reach. It is achieved when we accept that every event has a meaning, a hidden wisdom, even if it escapes us at the time. Practicing tawakkul also means knowing how to pray sincerely, imploring Allah to guide our steps, to facilitate our path, to open the doors He deems good for us. It is a form of profound humility that recognizes our dependence on divine will while acting responsibly. The Prophet taught that the believer is like an archer who shoots his arrow, then places his trust in the outcome in the hands of Allah. In this posture, each day becomes an opportunity for spiritual growth. Every rejection, every expectation, every difficulty is a lesson that strengthens our faith. The heart is calmed. The mind is freed from the grip of doubt and fear. This tranquility is tangible proof that trust in Allah is not an abstraction, but a lived reality. It is also important to emphasize that this trust must be accompanied by a constant effort to purify the soul. Sometimes, obstacles in our lives can be due to spiritual shortcomings, sins, or shortcomings in our worship. Returning to Allah through sincere repentance, dhikr, regular prayer, and good deeds is an essential key to opening hearts and receiving blessings. Finally, true tawakkul is also manifested in the acceptance of destiny, whether favorable or difficult. This acceptance is not passive resignation, but an inner strength that allows us to weather storms with courage and dignity. This is how the chosen one of Allah moves forward, with the certainty that each step is guided, each trial is a springboard, and that the time given by Allah is perfect. In this step, it is essential to understand that true success is not measured solely by material success or the social position one may achieve. Allah reminds us through His word that true greatness lies in steadfastness in serving Him, in being patient, and in maintaining a strong faith, even in times when the world seems to turn its back on us. Too often, we are tempted to judge our worth by what we seemingly possess or accomplish, forgetting that every trial is an opportunity offered by Allah to purify our souls and strengthen our bond with Him. It is important to understand that what we perceive as failures or delays in our professional lives are not a sign of divine rejection, but sometimes divine protection. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, sometimes leads us away from certain paths to protect us from unseen dangers, or to prepare us to receive blessings greater than we could have imagined. This patience, this trust in the divine plan, is what truly distinguishes the chosen one who allows himself to be guided by the light of Allah. In today's fast-paced society, where instant gratification is valued, the test of patience becomes a real challenge. But it is precisely this virtue that allows us to transform the time of waiting into a time of growth, meditation, and spiritual preparation. Allah's chosen ones do not allow themselves to be discouraged by delays. They do not succumb to despair. On the contrary, they draw their strength from prayer, from dhikr, from the deep conviction that every difficulty carries within it a seed of future success. It is also important to understand that trials are not limited to the material sphere. They can affect the soul, relationships, health, and many other aspects of life. All these trials are ways that God uses to purify, test, and elevate His chosen ones. They are a call to resilience, perseverance, and above all, unwavering faith. Every difficult moment must be met with the awareness that it is not a coincidence, but a sign of Allah's closeness. Furthermore, it is crucial to emphasize that patience does not mean passivity. True patience is accompanied by sincere effort, a willingness to move forward despite obstacles, while keeping the heart serene and turned towards Allah. It is this combination of action and trust that leads to lasting success, success that does not fade with time, but leaves a deep mark on the soul. Finally, in this quest, we must not forget the role of the community, of those around us. Seeking support from brothers and sisters in Islam, sharing our trials, and encouraging each other in our faith are all ways to strengthen this patience. Allah's chosen ones do not walk alone. They are carried by a spiritual solidarity that sustains them in times of doubt and trial. Thus, understanding and practicing patience in the job search is a path that leads to light, a path where the chosen one is transformed, grows, and draws closer to their Creator every day. It is in this active and faith-filled waiting that the true secret of success lies. At this point in our reflection, it is crucial to explore in depth the role of prayer and spiritual connection in the job search. Prayer is not simply a ritual obligation or a mechanical routine performed out of habit. It is the living, profound link between the believer's soul and its Creator, a refuge in times of uncertainty and a powerful means of opening doors that no human effort alone can unlock. In this struggle that many wage to find work, prayer is a weapon, an inexhaustible source of energy. When the heart feels overwhelmed, when doubt and fear seek to take root, returning to prayer, kneeling humbly before Allah, is a way to find inner peace. It is also a way to remember that it is not our strength that decides our destiny, but that of Allah, the Almighty, the Merciful. Each sajda, each worship, each moment spent in the divine presence is a declaration of humility and trust. Allah exhorts us in the Quran to ask Him sincerely. And when my servants ask you concerning me, then I am near. I answer the prayer of the one who prays to me when he prays to me. Surah Al-Baqarah 2186. This divine closeness is a promise for those who embark on this path of faith. Prayer then becomes a source of light in the darkness, a guide when the path seems unclear. But simply performing the obligatory prayers is not enough to hope for a real transformation in our situation. We must also multiply our invocations, turn to Allah with a sincere and humble heart, and express our fears, hopes, and deep needs. The Prophet Muhammad taught us many specific du'as to ask for ease, success, and protection from hardship. Every word spoken with faith is a seed sown in the garden of divine providence. Prayer creates an intimate connection, a space where the soul can free itself from the weight of worries and fill itself with renewed confidence. It also allows us to channel our emotions, transforming fear into courage, doubt into hope. In this context, seeking employment becomes a sacred act, a form of self-adoration, because it is a means of fulfilling the duty given to us while placing our trust in divine support. It is also important to remember that regularity is essential. Prayer reveals its full power, not in a moment of emergency, but in daily constancy. The believer who takes care of his connection with Allah, who does not neglect it even in times of success, will be supported in times of difficulty. Prayer is a means of establishing inner stability, a lasting peace that does not depend on external circumstances. Beyond prayer, there is also dhikr, the remembrance of Allah, which purifies the heart and drives away negative thoughts. Repeating the names of Allah, meditating on His greatness, and remembering His past blessings all strengthen faith and prepare the mind to welcome the blessings to come. Dhikr is a balm for the soul, weary from the struggles of daily life. Finally, this spiritual connection helps us see the job search from a different perspective. It is no longer simply an economic necessity, but a spiritual test, an opportunity to learn to depend more on Allah, to strengthen our faith, and to move forward with courage and serenity. It is this change of perspective
that allows the chosen one to remain steadfast and confident, even when results are slow in coming. This stage of prayer and spiritual connection is therefore fundamental. It transforms the way in which the believer experiences his ordeal. It opens a new dimension where each difficulty becomes an opportunity to draw closer to God and receive His light. Patience, effort, trust, everything then comes together in a spiritual dynamic that goes beyond simple material research. Now that we have explored trust in Allah, patience, sincere effort, and prayer, it is time to understand how all of this fits into a larger vision of life, a vision shaped by faith, by the certainty that every moment, every event is orchestrated by the Creator in His infinite wisdom. The final step, perhaps the most essential, is that of full and total acceptance of the divine will, a trusting surrender that transcends all human worry and control. Accepting Allah's will does not mean abandoning one's dreams, ambitions, or work. On the contrary, it means recognizing that, despite our plans, efforts, and desires, He alone holds the keys to destiny. This requires profound humility, a letting go that cannot be improvised, but is built over time, faith, and experience. This letting go is a form of love for Allah, a trust so great that it transforms the torments of the soul into unshakable peace. In life, this acceptance manifests itself through an inner serenity that allows one to go through trials without losing hope or becoming discouraged. When doors seem closed, when answers are delayed, the chosen one of Allah does not sink into anger or despair. He knows that this time of waiting has a reason, a hidden wisdom that will be revealed to him at the right time. This active patience is a precious test, a path to a spiritual maturity that makes him stronger, closer to his Creator. Trusting surrender also means knowing how to give thanks for what is already present, even if it isn't what we hoped for. Gratitude is a spiritual key that opens the doors to contentment. It transforms what seems insufficient into a source of blessings. Allah teaches us that he who gives thanks multiplies his blessings. Thus, even in times of trial, the chosen one cultivates gratitude, which strengthens his bond with Allah and increases his inner light. Another aspect of this acceptance is the complete surrender of one's destiny into the hands of Allah, which also implies not succumbing to the temptation to seek illicit shortcuts or means contrary to the divine will. Success achieved through forbidden means is fleeting and a source of unhappiness. The chosen one knows that true success is that which comes with the blessing of Allah, which purifies the heart and elevates the soul. In this final stage, it is also important to understand that every trial, every difficulty, is an opportunity given by Allah to grow spiritually, to strengthen one's faith, and to elevate oneself. The believer no longer sees waiting as a waste of time, but as a precious investment in his future, a time of inner preparation that makes him ready to receive the blessing at the right time. Finally, the chosen one of Allah walked with the conviction that, despite the apparent slowness of events, nothing escapes His will. Time is a creation of Allah, and He orders it according to His perfect wisdom. This outlook on life frees one from stress and anxiety and opens the heart to a profound peace, a peace that surpasses all understanding. This is how the chosen one becomes a living witness to the power of Allah, an example of faith and resilience for those around him. This total acceptance is a spiritual art, a state of mind that every believer is called to cultivate. It transforms the way we live our daily lives. It gives profound meaning to each moment, and it prepares the chosen one to receive, at the divinely chosen moment, the immense reward promised by Allah to those who place their trust in Him.